Alright, after game 1, the takes are everywhere. The Spurs are in trouble, the Knicks are taking over, San Antonio looked lost, but history has a habit of laughing at one-game overreactions. So before you bury the Spurs, let's ask a calmer question. What does history actually say happens after a team loses game 1 of the finals? Because a best of 7 is a long, breathing thing. It has runs and counter runs and momentum that swings game to game. One loss, especially a close one, is rarely the end of the story. So let's make the historical case that this series is far from over and that a Spurs punchback in game 2 is closer to the norm than the exception. This is Game is Culture. Real quick before we get into it, if you like breakdowns that actually show the math instead of just yelling takes at you, go hit subscribe. It's free and it genuinely helps, so click it. First, the simplest historical truth. This series isn't ending soon, because finals sweeps are genuinely rare. Across the entire history of the NBA Finals, only around 1 in 10 series ends in a 4-game sweep, which means roughly 9 out of 10 finals go at least 5 games. So the overwhelming historical baseline is that this series continues, and San Antonio gets multiple cracks at clawing back in. And that matters, because the doom narratives treat game 1 like a verdict. History treats it like a first chapter. The Spurs don't need to win the series on Friday, they just need to keep it alive, and history says the vast majority of finals teams get that chance. The book is barely open. Second, teams that lose game 1 tend to respond, because there's a powerful pattern in playoff basketball. The team that loses a game, especially the opener, very often comes out and wins the next one. Desperation is a real force. The losing team makes the bigger adjustments, plays with more urgency, and gets the benefit of a wake-up call. So historically, a 1-0 series becoming 1-1 is one of the most common outcomes there is. And the Spurs have extra reasons to follow that pattern. They lost at home, which stings and motivates. They're the favorites with pride on the line, and they're a proud young team getting its first taste of finals adversity. Everything about their situation points toward a fierce, focused response in game 2. The wounded favorite is the dangerous one. Third, and most importantly, the loss was close. This wasn't a blowout that exposed a gap in talent. The Spurs lost by 10 on the worst shooting night of their season, so the margin between these teams is razor thin. History is far kinder to a team that lost a close game ugly than one that got run off the floor, and San Antonio clearly is the former. And layer the shooting regression on top. The Spurs shot 26% from 3, a number that almost has to climb. So history says they respond, desperation says they respond, and the math says their shots start falling. 3 separate forces all pointing the same direction toward a much better San Antonio performance in game 2. Real quick though, if you've made it this far, you've really gotta hit subscribe. I'm not going to beg, but I am going to ask, so hit it and I'll wait. And history has a specific warning for the team that's celebrating. Because the most dangerous place to be in a playoff series is comfortable, and a team that wins game 1, especially on the road, can quietly start to relax. They got what they came for. The urgency dips just a little. Meanwhile, the team they beat is furious, desperate, and locked in. So the script often flips precisely because the winner exhales while the loser sharpens. And that's how so many series tighten after game 1, not because the winning team is bad, but because the human nature of a small lead breeds a sliver of complacency against an opponent who has none. So if New York treats Friday like a chance to go up 2-0 instead of a battle they could easily lose, history says they're walking into a trap. So the smart read cuts both ways. History says the Spurs likely respond, fueled by desperation and regression. And history says the Knicks have to fight their own human nature to avoid letting a desperate team back into the series. Both of those forces collide on Friday, and that collision is exactly why Game 2 should be a war. So here's the realistic, history-backed expectation.
Expect a fight.
A desperate locked-in Spurs team on its home floor with its shooting bouncing back, throwing everything it has at Game 2. Because that's what cornered talented teams do. The most likely outcome, historically, is not a Knicks coronation. It's a series that tightens into a real grueling fight. So don't pencil in a sweep. pencil in a war. And there's a deeper lesson here about how to watch a series, because the loudest reactions always come after a single game when emotions are highest and the sample is smallest. The wisest fans zoom out. They know a finals is a 7-game story and that the team trailing 1-0 has written almost none of its chapters yet. But now, the honest warning history also gives. Because history is a tendency, not a guarantee. Yes, most teams respond in Game 2, but some don't. Some lose Game 1, come out flat, fall down 0-2, and never recover. So the pattern favors a Spurs bounce back, but it does not promise one. They still have to actually go out and earn it against a very good team that has every reason to keep them down. And the Knicks get a vote too. New York isn't going to politely hand San Antonio a bounce-back game. They'll fight to push the Spurs to the brink because they understand the stakes of a 2-0 lead just as well as anyone. So history leans toward a Spurs response, but the Knicks are trying to write a different, more ruthless story. So I'm going to leave it with you. Does history hold and the Spurs storm back to even the series in Game 2? Or do the Knicks become the rare team that turns a Game 1 win into a 2-0 stranglehold? Friday, we find out. So tell me down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. We're in a race to 1,000 subscribers, so please join the family.